Buenas tardes, estamos con el alcalde de la ciudad de Kenner, Michael Glaser. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for the invitation.
I'm pretty sure had nothing else to do than sit with us.
We have a lot to do. Running city government is something new every day.
I'm going to ask you, the first one is about immigration, the 287G.
Yes.
Can you explain why the city of Kenner, the mayor, have nothing to do with it? That's a quote from you.
Yes. Well, the way city government is set up by the city charter, it gives all the power to the elected police chief to manage the police operations. The mayor and the administration have little to do other than a funding source to the police department. And the police chief entered into these agreements with the federal government to participate in their programs. And I could have came out and said, well, it's not a good idea. And he could have just said, well, I think it's a good idea, I'm doing it. So that's kind of why it was a police matter, and I didn't really get involved in it at all.
Do you think the operation Carajura Crunch really affected the business in the city of Kenner?
Well, just driving down Williams Boulevard and looking at the restaurant side of the Latino community, you can say, yes, it did, because you can see empty seats. I know friends, and we had projects that were either canceled or postponed because of lack of workers. So yes, I do think that it had some effect on the city of Kenner.
Besides immigration, what do you think is the most important thing that you have to tackle in the next 4 years if you win?
Well, it's the same thing in any government is revenue. You have to keep revenue up, which is the sales tax and property taxes, without being overburdensome to the residents of Kenner. And infrastructure in Kenner is by far our biggest cost and need, which is the roadway system. And the most costly thing is our wastewater system, which is the sewage system in the city of Kenner. It's now aged. We have over 350 miles of gravity pipes. We have roughly 60-something miles of force mains. That's 60 plus years and older. We have one sewage treatment plant here that services the whole city. So if any part of that goes down, it affects people flushing their toilets. So that's by far the biggest thing in the next 4 years, is because it takes not only millions, it takes tens of millions of dollars to do an upkeep on this system, which we've been doing now for 4 years.
So talking about that, the budget of the city is 148 millions, no?
Yes,
is that correct?
That's correct.
So how you change or how you improve the infrastructure that you just said, how you get the money from, like how?
Well, the city of Kenner is, you have property taxes, what the residents pay for owning property in the city of Kenner, which is by far some of the lowest in this area. It's only a fraction of what the Jefferson Parish residents pay, but we're heavily sales tax driven. So we need these businesses open with people in them spending money, because that's where most of our revenue is generated from, is sales tax. Over the last, the past 4 years, the budget has gone up a couple of, several $1 million annually, is because we get so much money. I'm an advocate for going to Washington, D.C., asking representatives and senators for money, and I've been successful in getting it. And when you go there, and like just last year, we got $8.1 million on infrastructure, which is for our sewage system. You got to include that in budgets and things like that. So it does increase, but it's the revenue that's also increased.
Talking about buildings, the big white elephant for the last, 8-10 years is the Esplanade Mall.
That's correct.
Any plans?
Well, when I came in office, it was a different owner. The owner was aggravated because he couldn't get any cooperation here with the local administration. They came in, they were renting a space in the Macy's building that was just kind of an empty building had no telephones, no anything. But then it recently sold, 4 years ago. And my comment then was, I am cautiously optimistic that the new owners have a plan to redevelop it. As we sit here today, we know that the owners now really didn't have a plan. They bought it, realized it was a bigger project than they're accustomed to. And we meet with them once a month via a video conference, and they really have no changes in, I guess, in their outlook on it. So And it's unfortunate because it is the biggest undeveloped or vacant piece of property in East Jefferson Parish. So it would be nice to put it back into some retail or commerce where it is, tax earning, because if it's a school, a nonprofit or something like that, it does city government nothing because there is no revenue coming into the city of Kenner for that property.
Do they own the land as well, or just a building?
They own everything inside what is the ring road that goes around the property, except for Target owns their building and Dillard's owns their building. The rest of the vacant property is owned by this group out of just south of Chicago, Illinois.
So the city of Kenner basically have no power on what they want to do with the building.
Well, no, because it's privately owned, just like me coming to your house saying, we can only, you got to follow the codes in the city of Kenner, like upkeep and things like that. We can't tell you what to do in your house. We can't tell these people what to do with their piece of property. Like right across the street, there's a strip mall that's pretty much half vacant, and it's an out-of-state owner also. Right across Chateau Estates, it's another half vacant piece of property. But on the fourth corner, it's a thriving, retail space. Every retail space is open. You have several restaurants, and it's a local owner. So I really do think that the owner involved in these properties, the local owners, I guess, are more involved, and they do better. So it's frustrating.
You were talking about sales taxes. Do you think in the last 6 or 7 months of what is happening with immigration, those sales taxes were affected by ICE or by the operations?
Well, yes. When, like I said, we sales tax driven, and when some of these businesses and construction jobs and things like that aren't generating sales tax, yes, you're going to see a dip in Kenner's revenue. The problem is we can't give specific numbers on how much of an effect it did cause, because we don't get that from the Jefferson Parish Sheriff, who is a tax collector. He'll give us the overall monthly revenue coming to the city of Kenner. And for example, we've been tracking it, the end of last year up until, February is our most recent number. And you do see sales tax did, go down a little bit. I'll be interested to see how March and, we're in April now, so it's almost like a 2.5 month lag about the taxes that the sales tax, the monthly sales tax that you get. So probably sometime in August, we'll have a pretty good idea of just how much sales tax that operation, pretty much.
But the revenue went up.
Yes, sales tax. If sales tax go down, we have more revenue in permitting and things like that. So yes, our revenues this fiscal year, which runs January to the end of June each year. That's how our fiscal year is up over $4 million. So even though the sales tax may be down in this little stretch, revenues in several other revenue-generating areas are up.
In 2022, you won. You were elected by 75%. It was not even close. Then let's say you win in May 16, 4 more years, 2030. What next?
Where I should be today, retired. Yes, I had.
Why you not retired?
Because I was born and raised in the city of Kenner. Like I come from. Kenner's mayor was, the first Kenner mayor was my great-great-grandfather. My great-grandfather was Jefferson Parish Sheriff for almost 30 years. My father-in-law was chief of police here in Kenner for 16 years. And then all other family members here did a lot of development. My mother's company developed a lot of North Kenner. And it's ironic that they pretty much developed the Esplanade Mall. Went out and found a developer, owned the property, and this is a thing that just never goes away. So I ran for mayor to clean up, which I thought Kenner was heading in the wrong direction. They had a lot of projects that just weren't getting done. Roadways and infrastructure were crumbling, and I didn't see any plan forward. Ran, the message was heard, 75% of the people voted for me. I came in, it's much better today. The city of Kenner is thriving, our bond rating is up. We have more money in our general fund and to service our debt service. And I'm happy to say that I win 4 more years, and that's pretty much it. I have no ambition to be be anything else.
I want to ask you about that because we've seen in the history of Kenner in the last maybe 10 years, that's the process, no? Councilman, mayor, and then Jefferson Parish position. So that's knowing your agenda to find a position or to run for a position in Jefferson Parish.
Absolutely not. Nope.
Not today, that can change, you know?
It can change, but it's not going to. I'd have to find a new wife.
And
I'd have to, yes, because I had the biggest person to convince was my wife, because she wanted no part of politics, and it's pretty much continues today.
And can you share your thoughts about the other two candidates that are running in this election?
Well, I really don't know much about either one of them other than what I've kind of had to go look and find out. I understand one's he's not from this area, he's lived several years here, but from another state. The female I really don't know much about other than I ran across her as a journalist a few times. Mm-hmm. And then when I did go, the campaign finance reports is what we have to file right after qualifying. You learned a bunch about them, that they don't own property in Kenner. They really don't have any kind of stable full-time job. I'm just questioning, how they even qualified to run because they had ethics fines for many, many years that went unpaid, and all of a sudden, the 11th hour before qualifying, they run and pay these thousands of dollars in ethics fines, and it's just bizarre. There's something more, I guess, to it than that. So.
With Diane Snell, that she's Hispanic, there's been a lot of talk about representation, no? It said it's time for somebody to have a seat at the table, meaning the Hispanic people. Mm-hmm. How you feel about that when you hear that comment, like representation is time for a Hispanic?
No, it's a popular vote. So we know now there's over 30%, Latinos here in the city of Kenner. And that's just from a census.
Yeah.
Common sense driving around, there's more. We dealt that on the police side, where you knew there was more Latinos, there's more Latino crime that was never reported. Unfortunately, it's a growing percentage of the population, but there's not a lot that vote. If you go back and look at the voting records, if you have, like just for example, you said the 75% of the vote last time, they had 10,007 people vote. Mm-hmm. They had barely 1,000 people, that identify as Latino that would vote.
That's always been a problem in the Hispanic community.
That's correct. So at the time, me and Keith Conley with some of the Latino leaders held several voter registration events to try to get more Latinos involved in the local politics, because if you don't have a seat at the table, you're really not going to have you're not going to have the representation. I guess that community is not going to have feel that they have an adequate representation, but it takes a qualified candidate to represent you.
How we can improve that? You as the CEO of the city of Kenner, how we can involve more the Hispanic community to eventually have a representation on the table?
Well, it's the numbers of voters. You got to have, for example, you have a African-American seat at the table only because the district is carved out that it's majority African-American residents live in that district. Well, unfortunately today the district has been decimated by airport buyouts, families moving away. There's more Latinos in these neighborhoods now than they have African-Americans. And if you think of it that way, the Latino community should have a seat at the table because they can outvote, African-Americans. But today they just don't have the numbers registered to vote. So I think the wave has to be you need more registered voters to participate in the process to get, a Latino elected. And look, we do a lot for the community itself with Hispanic Resource Center, a lot of programs from our federal compliance community service department where we do a lot for it, just housing, federal dollars that come in, a lot of, support for after school stuff, English as a second language and all that kind of stuff. But if you can't vote, you're not going to get the numbers to win a seat. And that's unfortunate.
So that's the message. If you're Hispanic and you want the representation, then you need to go.
Yes, you gotta. If you're able to register to vote, you need to register to vote if you want to have any say so. Because this country, that's the best thing you have is you can vote for what you want. You may not always win, but you do your civic duty and go cast a vote. Well, I think these are the best people. This is who I want to see in office, and you can vote for them.
Maybe you already said it, but do you have any message to the Hispanic community?
No, look, like I said, I think I'm gonna have a Hispanic family member in the next couple of years, I think. But look, I'm an advocate for the Latino community. If you see my track record, you can go look and see where I spent all campaign monies. Goes to any gala, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, the realtors. I was keynote speaker at the Latino real estate professionals here in the city of Kenner. We have a Telemundo once a month interview to kind of go over what's happening in Kenner in the Latino community. So, look, the thing is, if you want to be involved in the politics side of it, register to vote. If not, look, my office is always open. The mayor's office has a cultural coordinator who's Latino that's supposed to be, the administration's liaison to the community. Does a fine job, and she gets a lot of calls, and it's a lot of misinformation. We find that people hear something and they call us, and we try to explain it because, look, you run government like a business, and like I said, we don't make money, we spend money, but you try to attract businesses and revenue in several different ways. But yes, the Latino community is a big part, and I don't think they're leaving anytime soon. So you have to embrace them.
Last question, May 16, what are you doing that day? How the mayor prepare, or what to spend the time? How's your routine on election day?
Well, it starts early because you got to go out and you make your rounds on if you got groups standing on street corners. You go if there's some kind of event going, you make an appearance. But most of all is you try to get your supporters out to vote. That's the biggest challenge. Is if it's a very sunny day and nice and it's beautiful outside, the last thing on somebody's mind is they want to go vote. They want to do everything else. So that's kind of, you got to keep your message out and get them to vote. And hopefully by 8 o'clock that night, you're successful and have enough votes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And
Thank you for the invitation.
thank you.